Hello and welcome to The Last Grown Up in the Woods. I am Carly and today I'm going to be talking about all of the romance in the animal kingdom, which isn't actually that much. So many of you know that a lot of species of birds mate for life, which makes us all go, aww. But these pairings are more of a social union, and birds are rarely faithful to each other. In fact, they're often only faithful to their territory, so if their partner is displaced or killed, they'll happily mate with whoever moves in. The only exception to this is the Florida scrub jay. Through DNA studies, scientists have yet to find a single case of infidelity in the Florida scrub jay. It's also fairly rare in the Steller's jay in western North America. Meanwhile, the blue tit and the tree swallow have been shown that 90% of the eggs in their nests are not fathered by the partner that lives there. What about those males out there that are wooing the females with their fancy feathers and their good fighting skills? It turns out there's quite a few species who actually prefer the losers, or the strong silent types. Betta fish and Japanese quails show a strong preference for the losers in battles for mates. Meanwhile, the winners have to resort to coercion, which works for them, I guess, because they're the strongest ones. So gifts are romantic, right? A gift! Thank you for this cod! Well, a lot of insects and spiders do give gifts. For the most part, they're edible gifts that the female can eat while the male does his business. It helps to give him more time to release all the sperm he can, and it can give the female some extra food, as it takes a lot of energy to raise the eggs. But it's not always that nice. Scorpion flies will often bring their lovely lady a hunk of carrion to munch on, but as soon as they're done, he snatches it away. Even more sneaky is a nursery web spider, who will wrap its bug up in lots and lots of silk, so the female has to spend time unwrapping it before she eats it. Sounds fair, right? However, about 1/3 of the time, there's actually nothing useful inside the web. It's just a leaf or an exoskeleton. But by the time the female figures it out and stops the sperm transfer, it's often too late. Sneaky buggers. Some types of crickets will offer the female something called a spermatophylax, which is completely created in their body and offers no nutritional benefit to the female, even though she seems to like it. Once she's done eating that, she will discontinue the sperm transfer and eat his sperm transfer organ. Females often take sperm itself as a gift, perhaps not on purpose. After copulation happens, they will often expel the sperm and eat it. This is particularly the case if the female hasn't eaten for a while, which actually makes sense because if she doesn't have the energy to take care of the eggs, then it makes a lot more sense to eat the sperm. But she'll also do it if a mate seems a little subpar. You might have noticed that my examples have gotten a little less romantic, and that's because I'm pretty much out of animal romance. In the animal kingdom, coercion is pretty common, and often it's coercion in a fairly painful manner. Mating for animals often takes a whole lot of deception, sneakiness, force, and some pretty wacky behavioral and physical adaptations. Let's return to the fact that the biggest and the brightest aren't always the winners. Sometimes it's the sneakiest. Alpha male cuttlefish control a harem of females. However, smaller males can disguise themselves as females and sneak into the harem and fertilize up to 30% of the eggs. Bowerbirds attract a mate by building a nest that's pretty much just meant for copulation. And the bigger the better. However, some of the males with smaller nests are able to use forced perspective to make their nest look bigger. Topi antelopes will fake distress calls to keep fertile females in the area, and a peacock will pretend to be in the throes of love to make jealous females come looking. Polyandry, that is, mating with multiple partners, is fairly common in the animal kingdom. There are a few reasons for this. The first would be maximizing sperm competition. Most brooding cichlids will put their eggs in their mouth and open it up for anyone who wants to come deposit sperm. The mating frenzy creates a race that only the best sperm can win. Many females will take part in pre-fertilization sperm choice. An example of that would be the spider that I mentioned before that sucks out the sperm of a subpar male. Many species of animals are capable of storing sperm until they've collected a bunch and they can select just the right ones to fertilize their eggs. The fire salamander can hold on to eggs for up to a year and mate with as many individuals as she wants, releasing subpar sperm as she goes along, and by the time she's ready to fertilize her eggs, she's got some awesome sperm stored up. The pygmy squid will have males deposit their sperm caches on her carapace, and she will select the best ones to fertilize her eggs. The sand tiger shark will also have many male suitors. However, the first one to hatch in one of her 2 uteri will eat all of its brothers and sisters, leaving only 2 happy little shark babies. There are other reasons for polyandry, the most common being that it's just not always worth it for the female to fight off her male suitor. It wastes too much energy that could be going into producing her young. So far from simply sneaking or selecting sperm, for a lot of animals, sex seems horrible. Bedbugs pierce the female with its sharp penis and releases its sperm into the abdominal cavity. Get out of here! Anglerfish are particularly interesting. The male is much, much smaller than the female, and he'll use his sharp teeth to bite into her and fuse his head to her skin, and eventually all of his organs except for his gonads will decompose, so he's essentially a parasite / sperm bank. Flatworms, who are hermaphrodites, get into a sword fight with their penises. The winner gets to be the male. However, the female will usually counter this by sucking the sperm out of her genital opening. Some species of flatworm have countered this by sticking their penis straight into her abdomen and hoping that the sperm gets to the right place. Now, it wouldn't be a video about animal romance if we didn't talk a little bit about sexual cannibalism, now would it? Some species of spiders and mantids practice sexual cannibalism, which means the female eats her male suitor after he's released his sperm. It doesn't always turn out that way. In many cases, she just eats him before he copulates. It's the reason why they'll often watch the female and wait until she's had a good meal. A virgin female is much more likely to eat her suitor, probably because she's a little hungry. Once she's got that out of the way, she's got a lot more energy for egg bearing and will be a little kinder to the following suitors. And of course there's that good old mate selection. Someone's not good enough, you just eat them. The black widow is probably the most famous for eating its mate, hence the name, but only 2 of the 31 species of black widows do it consistently. And in the case of the black widow, I'm not so sure I blame her. She spends her whole life building the same web, and the male, who doesn't build his own web, comes along and starts to pick it apart bit by bit. Scientists think it's because he's trying to hide her scent so other males won't know that she's around. Then he'll sneak up on her and wrap his own silk around her legs so she can't escape, and copulate. And then I guess if she's hungry, she eats him. Or in some cases, like the Australian redback, he'll leap into her mouth, and as he's dying, he'll mate with her a few times. The things you do for reproduction. It's not unlike the spiders who bring their mate a bug to munch on, except it's themselves. The champions, however, of unpleasant sex are the gastropods. Those are the snails and the slugs of this world. Most gastropods are hermaphrodites, meaning they have male and female organs. The sea slug, Syphoteron quadra something rather, is written right here, has a syringe-like penile structure that it'll use to stab its potential mate. In theory, its mate can stab back, and they can fertilize each other, but usually the one who gets the first stab in gets to be the male. After that, he hooks his spiked penis onto her vagina and releases his sperm, leaving the female not only with the job of carrying the eggs, but also leaving her with a horrible wound that can then get infected and kill her. Another sea slug named down here will do a similar thing, except it will stab its partner in the forehead, possibly affecting its cerebral ganglia, which is like a sea slug version of a brain. If that's not odd enough, the sea slug Chromodoros reticulata has a disposable penis, which will break off inside of its female partner and regrow within 24 hours. Land slugs can spend up to 24 hours in the throes of love. Some species in the genus Macaques have some individuals that are born without penises, despite them being hermaphrodites. Others have been found to have mangled and short ones, and it's thought that this happens in copulation. It's thought that they have to be chewed off to separate. Most land snail species come equipped with love darts. When injected, it causes the female sex organs to not digest the sperm, making fertilization more successful. It can also decrease a snail's maleness, allowing her to put all of her energy into developing the eggs, rather than trying to fertilize other snails. So you think all this weird stuff is just for the invertebrates and cold-blooded critters? Well, think again. Dolphins have sex even when the female isn't fertile, leading to the myth that dolphins are the only other species besides humans that have sex for pleasure. Now, while there's plenty of evidence that there are other animals out there who have sex for pleasure, dolphins do seem to like their sex. Aside from the usual mating rituals, dolphins have also been known to use each other's fins and blowholes to pleasure each other, but things aren't quite that nice. There's still plenty of coercion going on in the dolphin world. Males will often gang up on a female and coerce her into sex. As if that's not enough, male dolphins have also been known to attempt mating with seals, and there is even some cases of them attempting to mate with humans. Sea mammals in general have been known to do some pretty disturbing stuff. Male harbor seals have been known to mate with penguins. Sea otter males will often kill its mate as it holds it underwater and bites at its face. In fact, 11% of sea otter deaths are thought to be a result of mating. As if that's not enough, they'll show the same behavior to young seals, sometimes mating with them for up to 7 days after they're dead. Speaking of necrophilia, Amazonian frog Rhinella proboscinae has been known to get into such a mating frenzy with a female that they kill her. After she dies, the males are able to draw out her eggs and continue fertilizing them. And I think I'm going to end this video by talking a little bit about homosexuality. Almost every species of animal practices some form of homosexuality. In the case of the dolphins that gang up on the female that I mentioned, the males will form very tight social bonds that includes homosexual relationships. Similar male bonding friendships also occurs in parrots. For the most part, animals use homosexuality as a means to optimize their reproductive success. For some males, homosexuality is part of the disguise as they sneak into a harem to mate with the females of another dominant male. Other animals will partake in homosexual activity to establish dominant roles or to reduce the sexual fitness of its partner, maybe mistaken identity, and sometimes it's just a way to get rid of sexual tension. And on a final, slightly more romantic note, in the case of macaque, it appears that they truly enjoy their homosexual activities. They've even been spotted gazing lovingly into each other's eyes as they do their thing. So this video is largely inspired by this book, The Nature of Sex by Carlin Bondar. It's a really interesting read. There's a link to this on Amazon, as well as the other resources that I've used. And now it's time for the channel of the week. This week I'd like to send a shout out to Bob's Woodland Adventures. He's another new channel for me, but I like it because he does bushcraft, but he does quite a few things that I haven't seen before on other people's bushcraft channels. I'm really looking forward to trying out the bundle bow. So if you're interested in checking out his channel, look up here. If you want to subscribe to me, click here, and don't forget to hit that little notification bell symbol, and I have some other videos over here. Okay, so long and see you next week-ish, and happy Valentine's Day.